Hey, everybody, we are live. I'm Jeff. I'm your host of Rise and Outshine. I've got Wize joining me as a guest judge tonight. We have two great podcasts, Lorraine with More Than a Few Words and Momma FoxFire with Even Tacos Fall Apart. Let's hear that theme music.
We're asking the experts, we're all on a mission to rise in the rankings and outshine the competition. Welcome to Rise and Outshine.
Yeah, that's what we always I've been throwing in that in there. I think it really makes a big difference. Wize, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Much better than the last time I was supposed to be here.
Well, last time you were sick, it's a very understandable situation. Not a great sickness. A lot of really bad illnesses going around this time of year. Not just this time of year, but post-pandemic, really bad illnesses.
Yeah.
So Wise and I are both from Pennsylvania, and if we learned anything yesterday, is Pennsylvania teams don't do well on Monday Night Football in the playoffs. I know you're probably not an Eagles fan, but both
not.
PA teams.
It was a good weekend for me.
Yeah, you're doing all right. But Wise,
Well,
let's
my team's been eliminated, but the fact that the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles lost, it made my weekend.
there we go. Well, Wise from Real Wise Productions, tell us a little bit about yourself, how we can connect with you, and some of the projects that you're working on. That'll kind of set the stage for moving into our podcast tonight.
Well, I'm the host of Stuck in My Mind podcast. You can find me on all major platforms. We got a few projects coming out. And I love creating content. I love doing my podcast, man. It's my safe place.
I love it. So realwiseproductions.com. You can find Wise on Facebook all the time. Definitely check out the website, realwiseproductions.com. Stuck in My Mind, Wise in the AM on Thursday. And,
Well, I'm coming back to it. I haven't been doing it lately. I've been
the folks at home don't know that.
Yeah, I know, but I've been working extra hours, but it's coming back soon. And now with this promotion at work, my days off are switching. So
it could be Wise in the AM on Wednesday. Well, we'll keep
it'll be Monday, Tuesdays now.
There we go. Let's go to our shows tonight. We have Lorraine from More Than a Few Words and Momma FoxFire from Even Tacos Fall Apart. We've got two great podcasts, and I'll be sitting in the hot seat with Momma FoxFire coming up in the second half of the show. But first, let's meet Lorraine, because we're going to go to her show first. She has a great 10-minute segment recorded for us. And Lorraine, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This is going to be so much fun.
I'm so excited. And we heard a little history of your podcast. Tell us, when did you start recording shows?
So the official start date for More Than a Few Words is January 7th, 2010. So just finished my 14th year.
Wow, 14 years. Congratulations. That's quite an accomplishment. I think you said over 900 shows in the bank.
Yeah. Yep. I think we hit, I want to say, I know I just edited 965, but I think I have about 955 live right now.
Wow, very good. That's impressive. Well, I'm so glad you could join us tonight. We have a great episode lined up with you. Now, everybody watching at home and my judges tonight for your episode, Momma FoxFire and Wise will also be judges for your episode. And the folks at home watching, they'll be able to judge as well. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, there's a code. You can go to menti.com and enter that code. Well, let me get the right setting up here. Here we go somewhere. Who's running this show? We're looking for you. You can scan if you're at home right now watching, you can scan the QR code or type in the code that you see at the bottom. And we're going to be looking at 5 different criteria. This works for any podcast, anywhere. You want to be able to go and look at these 5 criteria. So for example, audio quality. Are the hosts engaging? What's the quality of the content? Does the content match expectation? And the production quality. And on this show, we're just looking for 5s. This scale is 0 to 10, but a 5 meets all your expectations. The audio quality was good. The hosts were engaging. 5s are great on the show. 5 is something that you're just striving for. Now, what we want to look for is, does this number veer, ebb and flow from side to side? Does the audio quality have an issue? Are the hosts overly engaging? If they're skewing higher than you would expect, maybe you're going to give them a 6 or a 7. If there's some issues with the audio or production quality, maybe that's a 3 or a 4. We don't want zeros and we don't want tens. We just want to find a scale that we can give back to the shows to help them make an even better show. This is one of the great things about Rise and Outshine is we're in this, like the theme song says, to help you rise in the rankings and outshine the competition. So we're looking for your feedback. And you go to menti.com, type in that code, or scan the QR code. Thank you, Brooke. I appreciate that. So get your voting ready. I'll leave up the scrolling at the bottom. But Lorraine, if you want to set this clip for us, we have a 10-minute clip coming up for you. Let us know what we're going to see and what's going to go down.
So what you should know about More Than a Few Words in general is that it is a marketing conversation for business owners. All of our episodes are designed to be in the 10 to 12 minute range and really give you just a snapshot of an idea, some practical tips, some things that you can apply. And quite honestly, in a 10-minute episode, I know we're going to leave you wanting more. And that's okay, because I really want you to connect with the guests to learn a little bit about them. And in the episode that we're sharing, I really had a good time with this conversation. His name is Behdad Jamshidi. You say that 3 times fast. And he really has a very unique mission. His goal is to connect businesses to the right marketing partners, because a lot of business owners spend a lot of time trying to figure out who can help them with their marketing. And so he was a lot of fun to talk to. He knows a lot about his topic. And so it was just a lot of fun to visit with him. And I hope you enjoy the conversation.
All right. Well, if you're ready, I'm ready. Folks at home, type that code in and start voting. We'll go ahead and start the segment.
Welcome to More Than a Few Words, a marketing conversation for business owners. This is your host, Lorraine Ball. And I know that you listen to this show because you're looking for marketing tips and inspiration. And that's great, and I want you to keep listening. But the truth is that as your business grows, you're going to need to think about bringing marketing partners into your business. But how do you do that? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. And to have this conversation, I've invited Behdad Jamshidi to join me. Behdad is the founder of CJAM Marketing. He's an engineer turned marketer who's been featured in MarketWatch, Bloomberg, National Post, and more. And his sole purpose is to connect businesses to the right marketing partners. Behdad, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Lorraine.
I am so glad that you could join me today, because I think this is a really important conversation that business owners need to be thinking about: who, when, how to find a marketing partner. So let's get started. Let's start with a definition of what is a marketing partner.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's all over the place. So typically it could be an agency, where an agency could be 5 to 20 people, or something larger where you get more niche agencies that are 40 to 50 people, but they do one specific thing like SEO. Or for smaller businesses, it could be a freelancer or a contractor that you're bringing on just to find a little bit more time in your day, so that you're not, for example, posting social media posts or looking at strategies, because you got to focus on your business.
Awesome. So really what we're talking about is when you get to that place where you realize that if you're spending time on marketing, you're not spending time on the things that really make you money, and you've got to find someone else to do that. What do you think are some of the big mistakes that business owners make when they're hiring a marketing partner?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest mistakes is, one, not knowing what your goals are for your business, like what you're trying to hit initially, so that when you're actually looking for marketing partners, you can see if they align to what your actual goals are. The other aspect is I see a lot of business owners see kind of trends coming and going. And so they'll just jump on the next trend and hope that, TikTok might be the next thing. And then it's back to Instagram. And so they switch marketing strategies a lot of the times, and just jump on things that seem to be the trend, but it doesn't work long term, right? The silver bullet isn't there. You want to build a strategy from the beginning and stick with it over the long run. Shift if you really, really need to, but that's kind of what I see as the big mistake.
Awesome. I agree with you. I think when I was running an agency, so many business owners would come to me and say, I just need marketing. And my first question would always be, okay, let's step back. What do you think marketing is?
Yeah, that's a great question. And what are the answers you get?
Oh, God, all over the place, and very often it was an I don't know. So starting with getting clear on your goals and what you want to accomplish makes so much sense. What else should business owners do when they're getting ready to hire a marketing partner that might get them on the path for a successful relationship?
Absolutely. And I think for small businesses, one of the biggest things is to make sure that your foundations are set. And when I'm talking about foundations, like everyone knows, like your website is set, your messaging is set, so that if you are hiring a marketing partner to do growth marketing, whether you're spending money on Google Ads, SEO, social media, all these things that do a lot of top of funnel stuff where they bring visitors from the outside into the business. If your foundation is set and you have a solid website, solid messaging, for getting people into your email list, all of the stuff that you do on the outside becomes so much more valuable when you have the foundations. And a lot of businesses will hire marketing agencies too early when they don't have the foundation set. Also, if you want to build out the foundations, it's different types of marketing partners that you use to do that.
Okay, so I'm really early stage, but I'm ready to hire a marketing partner. Where are some of the best places to start? Because as you alluded to the fact that there are specialty firms and freelancers. What are good goals or good starting points for a marketing partner relationship?
Yeah. So in terms of what you're trying to do, it all depends on obviously the business. I guess to allude to your first question where you asked, where do you find them? Marketing agencies that are actually good are very, very hard to find. And the reason why is most of the time they don't actually work on their own marketing. So if you're trying to Google for them, they're typically not there. Right. And so people will go on Upwork or Fiverr or those types of platforms, and it's very, very hard. It's like finding a needle in the haystack of someone that's good. So the first step that business owners can do, I guess, is just ask recommendations from other business owners that they kind of know. And even just being very careful with that, because a lot of people will recommend friends that they have or people that they just kind of heard of or met at a conference. So you need to be careful when you're getting those kind of recommendations. Obviously, I built a business around this where I met with 751 different marketing agencies and partners. So it's something that I do very well, depending on what size and stage a business is at. But that would be kind of like my recommendation is they're not on Google, they're within networks. If you can find referral networks and start digging deeper into them, it's pretty much how you find the best hidden marketing gems.
Awesome. So I think I have found a few companies that are intriguing. How do I evaluate them? How do I compare them? What do I watch out for?
Yeah. So, top 3 questions that you can kind of ask marketing agencies at a very high level to kind of spot red flags. One would be, understand the story of the agency, like understand how long they've been around for, understand what their vision is and where they're going, right? Typically in those types of stories, you'll hear people, oh, we've been growing 100% over year and we want to keep growing. That's a red flag to me. Businesses really struggle to grow 100% year over year and stay stable. So you need to watch out for things like that. The other thing that you want to be asking is, how did you start out as an agency, right? Where did the skill set come from? And so you'll have people basically saying, well, we started out as an SEO agency. And then as our customers asked us for more stuff, we started doing Google Ads or we started doing, social media. But that their core was SEO. And so you get some insights into what agencies are actually good at. And typically agencies are good at 1 to 3 things. If someone says they do full service, that is a red flag. And you need to watch out very heavily for that. So that's kind of like the 2 top things that I would ask. A third one that I'm typically looking at is the retention rate of how long they can keep their customers for. And here, obviously, a lot of agencies are going to lie, or a lot of people are going to lie that I don't lose customers, or I only lose them when I make them a lot of money. Typically not the truth. You can kind of spot when people are not telling the truth. And if you find agencies that are only able to keep their customers for 3 to 6 months, it's typically the red flag. You're looking for people that can keep with high retention rate about a year plus relationships.
Awesome. Well, then I feel really good. I sold my agency a few years ago, but our core clients were with us 8, 9, 10 years.
That's amazing.
So it, it definitely is built on great relationships with customers. So as you're evaluating these agencies and you get past the red flags, are there things that you should look for that indicate that this could be that good long-term relationship, that real partner for your business?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Typically when I get really excited about an agency is when an agency's been around for like 10 plus years and they go, hey, we're a team of 15 to 20 people, or hey, we're a team of like 35 to 40 people, but we only do something very specific for this type of customer. And so they know who they can help and how they can help. You're looking for the people that have done it before and have been doing it for a long time and they know who their customers are. Those are typically the best agencies.
So finding a company that does what you're looking for, does it in a related industry, do they specifically have to have experience in your type of business? That's a question I hear a lot from the businesses I talk to.
My answer to that is no. I would pick a strong marketer over someone who has experience within a niche any day of the week. You just have to be really careful of it. But if you actually can find a strong marketer and they figured out their niche, that's like the golden egg, which is very, very hard to find. So just be careful of really niche agencies because typically they niche down because they can't do marketing well. And so they go, oh, well, we have 2 or 3 case studies here. Let's just do this only. And then that way we'll get more customers. And then they struggle to grow after the fact because they're just so niche.
So if they're too niche, too broad is a problem, what I'm hearing you say, and too niche is a problem. So that sweet spot is somewhere in between to find a unicorn that really is going to serve your business.
Yes.
Lorraine, great episode, very action-packed. Sometimes when you're sitting backstage and watching yourself, what were some things that you thought about while you saw yourself up on stage?
So I work really hard not to say ums and ers, and I pause. And my speech coaches have always said, don't worry about it. They're not that long. To me, when I pause to get to the next question, it feels like forever. And so I definitely would like to work on that a little bit more. But I really enjoyed the conversation. I think I enjoyed Behdad. He was interesting. He was fun. He made it easy because he had a very clear message. So it was easy to kind of feed him that next question.
Very good. It was very entertaining, and like you said, action-packed. Like there was tip after tip after tip after tip. Let me bring in my judges. We have Wize as our guest judge tonight, and Momma FoxFire also helping out. Why don't we go around a little bit? Was there any key takeaways that either of you took away from this episode?
It was some really great content.
Thank you.
It was interesting. They both were very engaging. So they were both. The audio quality was good for both of them. So it was a really, really good show.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I loved your energy, Lorraine. It was so good. And you can tell the audio quality was good. So the video quality, I think, must have just been on like the StreamYard side. I'm sure it's wonderful. But I also love that you put the little lines underneath to say like, this is what we're talking about right now. I thought that was really good, and it helped if someone has tuned out for a moment and they come back and they see that on the screen. That's really helpful kind of wayfinding for them to re-engage without having to rewind. I think that's really brilliant. I love it.
Awesome. Yeah, it definitely takes a little bit of time in the editing to do that.
Yeah.
But I do think a little bit of captioning helps bring the audience back.
And we
Thank
did
you.
have somebody home. We were talking before the show about things that we notice about ourselves and that other people don't really notice them. We're the only one. We're always our biggest critic. But Zabe said he didn't notice any pauses. You did great. A very nice comment. And last minutes, if you want to get your votes in, go to menti.com and type in that code. That'll take us to the scoreboard. Any initial thoughts? How do you think everything went? Because it's kind of nerve-wracking at first, but then you go through this process and you're like, oh, okay.
You know, it's really, I'm looking forward to it. I've done this a long time, but it's really nice to get that outside perspective, to get somebody else to look at the show and maybe see things that you didn't see, or suggest things that make you go, yeah, I could do that.
Well, here we go. I'm going to pull up the scores. The scoring is open, and like I said, fives are what we are looking for. So you are skewing above the expectation. So we know what we're looking for in a good quality podcast. So anything skewing over 5 is phenomenal. And if you look, what I love about this is you can see how the actual each vote came in too. So audio quality and production quality, even with the little glitches we were having, still skewed above what's accepted as the normal. So you're skewing higher on audio quality and production quality. The host, it's rare to get a 6 on this show. So you did take a 6 on engaging host. That's great. And 5.8 on quality of content. So you're skewing much higher on the, we want to be on the right side. You're doing the right things. And same with the content matching expectations. You're skewing above the normal expectation there. Let's go to that second. This is the fun part. I love the word clouds. So here we go. Here's what came in. We had 28 responses, marketing tips. Unicorn, too broad. So that's maybe, did we get off track a little bit during there? When to hire an agency, beard of the year. That's a man's beard. We got some beard compliments coming in there. Action packed, how to evaluate an agency, spotting the red flags of that was a big portion. What's the retention like? Do they keep them, or packed with info? Love the quick format. So we had a bunch of different very info packed, and then you see things like too niche. Well, that's okay. It's okay to be too niche. Not every podcast we have on the show is for everybody. So this is a very specific marketing podcast for business owners. So yeah, that's okay. They say the riches are in the niches, right? The riches are in the niches. That's one of my sayings here. So Lorraine, after going through the process here, how you feeling seeing the feedback words and seeing the scores skewing above average?
Well, I'm glad that the audience enjoyed it. I definitely was a little concerned when we started glitching, thinking, oh, that's really going to make it hard to watch. I am intrigued. I'm excited that so many people kind of got what the show was about and where, what the theming was. I am intrigued by, some people that said maybe it was too niche, and I appreciate their feedback. On the other hand, it's a niche podcast by design. And so I had a guest once tell me that the more you can alienate the people that aren't your audience, the better you're doing.
Yeah, and that's we have comedy podcasts on this show. We have, the trivia shows have run their course on this show, and those are very niche too. And that's okay. That's, every podcast is almost a niche podcast. It's in some sort of area, and that's okay. I don't think that's just for that person on this show. So I found it very useful if you're running your own business, a small business, you're looking for an agency. It's not easy hiring an agency, and I would also say there's not always the most ethical agencies out there as well. So you want to look for those red flags.
Yeah.
And if I could just chime in, like that comment also could have been related to the conversation, because the conversation at one point was talking about, are you too niche? Are you too broad? So that might not even be related to what you're doing. That could be just something that stuck out to them in that conversation. So I wouldn't take that as any sort of criticism if it were something that somebody said to me, because that was part of the conversation also. Just wanted to point that out.
I remember a couple of years back when I was starting my podcast, and I told them about, and I met someone at a convention, and I told them what my podcast was about, and they were like, you need to simplify it. You can't talk about so many different topics on your show. And to me, it didn't make sense, because I enjoy the topics that I talk about on my show. So there's no too niche anything. It's how I feel about doing my show, and my guests enjoy it. they have a great time having a conversation and everything. So it's never too niche. You can make it what you want. It's your podcast, and
Yeah. Well, and I think the niche that you've sort of created is the things that interest me. And if I connect with you and I'm interested in the things that you're talking about, I'm going to keep coming back week after week because we kind of have that common bond. So I think you have to clarify what your podcast is about and who it's for so that people know, oh, that show's for me.
Yeah, and I do think we have a detective as a judge tonight because I pulled back up the word cloud, and not only was too niche reference, but so was too broad, just like you were saying. And this is a stream of conscious, so it isn't, it's whatever you're feeling in that moment. I tell people to type it in. So during the conversation, my guess is somebody wrote too niche, too broad as two of the lines, and that's what they were talking about, the conversation, not necessarily the content. I missed that completely. Thank you, Momma FoxFire, for you were 100% correct on that.
Well, because that's something that I picked up on whenever the episode was playing. I was like, oh, this is a really interesting piece of the conversation. So I was, that kind of stuck out to me. I didn't put it in the word cloud, but like I get what they're saying. That was a great piece of the conversation. So I put unicorn. I put unicorn in the word cloud.
You put the unicorn in because I was going, okay, too niche, too broad, unicorn, because those all were in that same section.
Yeah, party foul on the host. I totally misread that one. I'm doing I'm like action packed behind the scenes here, but very well. I enjoyed. I like that format. You said the average show is 10 to 12 minutes in that range, and I mean you're hitting you with Hey, I probably walked away with 4 or 5 action tips, or like you said, wanting more after that. So that's a great reason to follow up. Everybody, Lorraine, how can people connect with you and find more? What's the web address to get to the podcast?
So the podcast is morethanafewwords.com, and you can find More Than a Few Words really wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you want to reach out to me, if you want to see some of the other things I'm working on, LinkedIn. Say hey, connect, tell me you heard me here, and would really love to continue the conversation.
Very good. And I'll have all those links in the show notes. Now we're going to go to our second show tonight, and I am 100% going to set a timer on this one. We are going to Momma FoxFire, Even Tacos Fall Apart, with a very special guest I heard tonight.
Yeah, so I am very excited. Let me know when the timer actually starts on it because, boy, my shows are not brief. They're the opposite. They are long. So I talk about mental health, and my show's called Even Tacos Fall Apart. The goal is to just give folks feelings of hope and strength and empowerment and a little bit of understanding about different deep dive topics. So we really get into the conversation. Plus, I go down rabbit holes left and freaking right. So it's one of those things that normally we would go deep into a conversation, talk through everything that we could. And it's their interviews with guests who either work in mental health or who have personal experience with mental health struggles or chronic pain or have faced adversity in some way. So it's really just all about the story and all about the sharing and all about, letting people know that, hey, sometimes stuff falls apart, but it's okay because there's always a way to pick up those pieces and kind of bounce back if you give yourself that grace and that space that you need to recover. So, and I'm Momma FoxFire. I'm a mental health advocate, single mom, full-time proposal manager, variety gamer. I do a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm Momma FoxFire everywhere. The spelling is right there. So I'm just everywhere that I can be. I'm Momma FoxFire.
All one word, usually Momma
All
FoxFire.
one word. Yep. And it's tacosfallapart.com is the website, and you can find all the links and everything there too.
Very good. And I'll tell you why I'm nervous in just a minute, but let's make sure everybody at home can start voting and casting their votes and stream a conscious word cloud for Even Tacos Fall Apart. Lorraine and Wize will be 2 of our judges, and then everybody watching at home, you can judge as well. I'll keep the banner scrolling at the bottom. You said to let you know exactly when the timer starts because
Yeah.
I will be sitting in the hot seat with Momma FoxFire for 10 minutes. I should have told you I started the timer 5 minutes ago. Just so you know, 'cause, how much do I want to expose here tonight? So we have a little story about my past that we're going to tell. I don't know where this is going to go, and I'm going to let Momma FoxFire meander the conversation and control everything. She has the background, and I'll be in the hot seat. So I expect some good stream of conscious word clouds. And don't forget, you can use emojis in the word cloud as well. We figured that out last week.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
So, without further ado, I'm going to keep the screen up on the bottom. You'll be able to cast your votes. Go to menti.com and type in that code that you see at the bottom. I'm going to hide that. I'm going to send our judges backstage, and the timer is starting right now at 31:40. So let's see what happens.
Okay. All right. So, like you were saying, Jeff, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I'm going to call it a mini interview. I don't think I've ever done a 10-minute interview on my show ever. But you did send a little bit of story to us. So we're going to be talking through. I just want to read what you sent. So you said, I have a story about realizing my childhood dream and then watching it fall apart. I wrote a paper in 8th grade about wanting to open a skateboard shop and indoor skateboard park. I accomplished that dream at age 25, and by 33, it fell apart. I spent months trying to put my life back together until I figured out what I actually learned during those 8 years in the skate shop. And now with that background, normally we would get into details like, from the small things of tell us your favorite life hack to the bigger questions of what inspired that dream in 8th grade? Like, what a cool thing to have this specific dream in 8th grade. Or how did you feel whenever you accomplished it? Or what led to the downfall, so it were. But tonight, to keep it, like I said, brief and a little bit laser focused, we'll focus on the aftermath portion of it. So Jeff, during the months that you spent trying to put your life back together, as you put it, what were some of the key things that you came to realize, and what did you decide to carry forward from that experience with you?
Yeah, those months were tough. I just recall them as dark. I had one daughter who was about 2 years old at that point. I had a second daughter on the way, and I didn't have direction. Like my plan was to rely on this skate shop to take me to until I retired, or sell it and go off into retirement. And that did not happen at all. So I spent months like, what do I do? Who's gonna want to deal with me? I went to college. I did get a degree, but I got the degree to do this business. Like got a business management degree, and I immediately started a business right after college. I started selling skateboards out of my parents' basement, and kids would come to the house at 2 or 3 in the morning to buy skateboard. I don't know what my neighbors thought I was selling, but I was selling skateboards
Not
24 hours
skateboards,
a
I'll
day.
bet.
Out the back door. And that was it. That was the dream that started in 2000 and went to about 2008. And then, what do I do next? Like that, it just went away. And I put the key in the door. I still remember the date, April 17th, 2008, and I walked away. I just walked away from the building, and that now I'm putting us at about 2009 right now. I'm still picking up the pieces.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a long, when you do something so monumental, first of all, at such a young age, like 25, to open a business and to have it go on for 8 years, that's really an accomplishment in and of itself. And then to get to the point where you're like, I can't keep this going. I've got to make a change. I've got to pivot in some way in my life. That takes strength just to make that decision. So don't discount yourself. Like, I really think that even just that decision, it might have felt like you were, doing something that was just totally negative at that moment. But it really does take a lot of strength to get to that point and decide that's what I'm going to do. So you've got all these challenges and you've got all these uncertainties, and now you're trying to put your life back together, right? What did that do to your mental health, and how did you cope? What were some of the coping mechanisms that you used to get you through after that?
Yeah, it was a lot of like I don't know if I've never been diagnosed as depression, but as much as I could think of that's what depression is, I stayed inside all the time. I never went anywhere. I never wanted, even my daughter would go to my grandparents during the day. Just that's what, I don't know if she asked to go, looking back, or if, I should have been getting a job. Like, what was I doing during that time? But I remember, like, it was just a weird time. Because also, one thing you don't think about is that was when you own your business. I was 7 days a week, easily 12 hours a day, and I went from that, from 8 hours or 8 years, to nothing. Like, I had nothing on my schedule for months, and it was a slow, like, this weird thing where 2008, 2009, people were starting to ask questions about websites and social media and video production, and like all these like DIY things started popping up. Like, oh, we can do that. That's something we can do in house. Like, oh, we can make our own videos and publish them to the web. Oh, how I can publish my own website. I don't need a designer. So people started asking me all these questions, and what didn't dawn on me for months to a year after was that whole time I was like locked in that skate shop 12 hours a day. I was one of the first people at Google AdWords. Not one of the first people, but early on Google AdWords. I even used a product called Overture, which was Yahoo had a bidding system. Like, I was doing email marketing. I had a social media platform. I was already doing YouTube videos with hundreds of thousands of views. And I was like, people started asking me these questions. And what I didn't realize is I actually developed a skill set running a business for 8 years that had value outside of the skateboard industry. Like, I had value to businesses. And when that was the big key is, okay, you need help with a website, and I would give them a price, and they'd say, yeah, definitely, do that, because that's way cheaper than me trying to figure it out. And that 8 years was as good of an education as college was, and that was the catalyst that got me out of that funk. Because, oh, I do have this value, I have this skill set that you don't get in college, you don't get anywhere. You have to get your hands dirty and get in there and do the work to figure this stuff out. And that gave me a huge running start into the job market in 2009, 2010.
Yeah, it's so funny that you bring that up, because just literally last night I was talking to my guest from last night, and we were talking about, you develop this skill set in college. I have a business management and marketing degree. What I do every day is marketing, but I learned none of it in school.
Yeah.
And so much of it is like hands-on. You go out after college and you have this requirement met, right, of your degree. But sometimes you don't use very much of it. Sometimes it really is just kind of learning on the fly. And I think that's really cool that you were able to take that and say, oh, I'm trying not to cuss very hard. I want you to know.
I'm the editor. I can censor it.
Okay. All right, good. Because like, I'll still try not to, but my show is just real and raw. So I'm trying to keep it a little wholesome here, but it's really good that you're able to take that and pivot it in such a nice way and say, actually, I've developed a skill set that's going to help me through this next part. When you were in that depression that you're talking about, whether it was clinical depression or not, everyone experiences some feelings of depression sometimes, and that's okay. And we can talk about it in that context. But what were some of the things that either finally helped you pull through, or did you have anything that you did on like a daily basis that kind of helped you pull through for your kids or your family or anything like that?
Well, I did go get jobs. I got really small jobs that made no sense for being college educated. I went to I was like a golf cart person at a country club, so I would like serve drinks on the I'd drive the cart around, make sure all the beer coolers were full, and then
that's an important job.
Yeah, it's very for some people that was very important. But so I found ways to make ends meet at first.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I have retail experience. I had the skate shop. I've done retail online. So I was a store manager at Hot Topic. So I went to the mall and I applied and I got a store manager position, which I did for a year, and that was great. But it wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in marketing, because even while I was there, I was like they were launching a site called Shockhound, which was like a MySpace for music lovers. And I was like, yeah, I know I'm supposed to work in the retail, but here's like 4 things you're missing on this site. So I would send the district manager notes like, hey,
Mhm.
here's some things you got to pass this along. And then the thing that I got I really got a real job, I want to say, and I didn't know how to apply for a job. I didn't know like really how to put a resume together, but I did know marketing. And so what's funny is I went in. It was a media company, and I went in just for a job interview for a marketing. It was like internet marketing manager or something, and I didn't know like what they wanted or anything. But I went in with a pitch deck on the job interview, and I did like I gave them like a 40-minute presentation of like, I went through your website. Here's
Mhm.
the keywords. Here's the URLs. Here's the structure that you're using. And I did a whole pitch. Like I don't know if they even asked me a question, but I just did a pitch, and they called me on the way home. Like, hey, can you come back? We want to make you an offer. I was like, oh, this is great. So I got a marketing job, and then probably like 6 months later, the job that I'm currently at opened up, and I did the same thing. I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna do a pitch, and they called me on the way home, and they hired. I've been there 13 years as a
Oh,
marketing
that's awesome.
director, and but it was I don't know if it was that DIY mentality. It wasn't.
Mhm.
I just didn't know any better, and I did these pitches, and like out of not having fear, I just like, hey, I don't know, this is what I do. I love marketing. I'm going to talk about it, and I think that was the big lesson that I learned was, spending that time 12 hours a day grinding, and if I didn't do it, it wasn't getting done. I was the only employee. Um,
Mhm.
and we're shipping out $60,000 a month of skateboards. It's just me. Like I'm just like doing this all the time. But it only got done when I did it. And that's kind of
Yeah.
like how those lessons I applied to life, doing a pitch on a job on your first round job interview, just going in with a pitch deck. It
Yeah.
seems silly now, but it worked 2 times in a row. So
Yeah. Hey, I mean, if it works, it works. So it sounds like you really just kind of kept your head down while you were doing it. And I recognize that we're almost out of time, so I'm gonna do my traditional magic moment, which is how we end every live stream. So if you could wave a magic wand, and I happen to have one, if you could wave a magic wand and eliminate one common opinion or misconception or theory surrounding mental illness, disabilities, or talking about mental health, what would it be?
well, I would say perception, and because I've since been around people with that I know with mental health issues, and my
Hmm.
perception was why this is how my brain works. I don't understand why your brain doesn't work like my brain, and so the one thing I've developed over the last 10 years was not applying what I know to what that person's feeling. And it might not help solve anything, but I do know that it does help in the moment, that if you're not having an issue but somebody is, don't think that their brain works like your brain. That's I've learned that,
Yeah.
and it's helped me a lot. And not just and we're in a situation where someone is depressed, but just in life in general. Nobody has your same perception. Nobody has your same experiences, and nobody's brain, thank goodness, works like my brain. Everybody has different perceptions and different experiences, and that 100% applies to somebody, I think, with depression.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. But I know we're out of time, so I'll cut it off there.
Well, normally I would bring you back up on stage, or I would pop up on stage and ask you how you think it went. Did I do okay? Let's talk about me for a second. 'Cause I was like, okay, I'm sweating a lot of.
No
You
stress,
know,
no stress. Well, that's one of the things that I talk about with guests is like, don't stress. It's just a conversation. You and me, we're just going to talk. And there's other people who are going to watch. We do all these live. We're going to do all this live. We're going to incorporate the comments. Normally I have like a captioner underneath that says every word that we're talking about and all this stuff. So, I think you did wonderful. And I appreciate you so much just sharing part of your story with us. That was really great.
well, that it was a lot of fun. It is. I will say, if first of all, everybody get your last minute votes in. We're going to wrap up the votes, but it is being on the spot like that, and sharing part was actually easier than I
Yeah,
expected, and you made it very easy to share and tell the story, and
good.
and you let the story run, which I like. There wasn't a lot of interruption. You kind of let me finish my thoughts,
Yeah.
which is a great skill set for a host, is to let your guests finish, let them shine, right? Let the guest let showcase themselves. In some cases, let the guest be the star, but in this case, you just want to let the guest get their full story out. So I really appreciated and noticed that right away, where even now I'm still babbling and running on, and you're still letting me finish my thoughts, which is a great skill that hosts should have, and you definitely have that. Let's bring back our judges tonight. We have Lorraine sitting backstage and Wize. Now they know a little bit more about me, and everybody knows more about Even Tacos Fall Apart with Momma FoxFire. Wize and Lorraine, what did any takeaways from the show?
Well, I think it is so obvious that this is what you do, and you have such passion for it. And the words that I just kept thinking about, you were so reassuring, you were so encouraging. And I know that you said at the beginning of it that you go all over the map, but I really felt like in a live conversation, you really gently steered it forward, where I don't think Jeff felt pushed or prodded, but directed, so that the outcome, I think, was something that was really interesting to listen to, and just really a positive experience.
Thank you.
Wize, I think you're muted again.
I am muted again. Okay.
It looked like you had a great speech running because you had the hand up in the air.
Oh man, but no, it was great, man. You guys did great. I love how she really takes control of the show. She really knows to ask some great questions, and she really leads you into into some great answers. So it was amazing. I had a great time listening to you guys, and I look forward to actually listening to both your podcasts.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, and your format is, you said, normally over an hour. So to condense it down and to get to 10 minutes, just to give people a taste. That's kind of what this is, can we give a snippet of the show? And I thought that was, even not that I've done because I was on it, but I think that was a great 10-minute segment to really, get a feel for how you run the show, how you host the show. So are you ready to look at the scoring?
Let's do it.
Let's see
You
how
did great.
we did. And again, we're looking for 5s on this show. So anything over 5 is above expectation, above average. Your audio quality, the engaging host, you scored 6.2 on that one. The quality of the content, 5.4. That could have been your guess, the subject matter. The content matching the expectation was a 6, and production quality 5.4 is 5. I think both shows tonight were 5.8. I think we both had a very close, and it's not a competition, but everybody always somehow we put the two shows against each other, but it's not. And you can see on the behind each score, you can kind of see the bell curve of how the scores fell in. Let's go to that word cloud and see what happened on this one. We have tacos.
I love the taco. That's so cute.
The taco emoji.
Well, since y'all told me I could do emojis, so.
Heck yeah.
Encouraging mental health, someone to talk with, great content, real world stuff, great conversation. Thanks for sharing. A great podcast name. A lot of people around me are big taco fans, so I'm sure you're going to win votes with anything with tacos in the name. Realizing self-worth, interesting, amazing. Pro host, there's a pro host was in there.
Aw, thank you.
Someone, real jobs, SUCK. That was it could be true. I'm not going to deny that one. Real world stuff. So, Momma FoxFire, after seeing the scores and seeing the word cloud and how people resonated in real time, how do you feel going through the process?
I think it's great validation just that the story of things comes through, because that's what really makes a difference to me, is that I'm doing my best to showcase other people's stories. And of course I talk about my own stuff all the way through, right? But my goal is to really make sure that I'm sharing and facilitating other people's experiences and other people's expertise. So I'm glad that came through in a very brief segment. And I'm so happy to have been able to come on here and join you guys.
We're so glad to have you on the show tonight. And my story must not have been so great. Zabe's daughter wants to see more of the cat. I left a comment there, so the cat's making an appearance. But Momma FoxFire, tell us, how can people connect with you? What websites can we find you on? And, what's the best way to stay in contact?
Yeah, so it's tacosfallapart.com. If you want to connect with me there, there's all kinds of all my social links and everything. But also I'm on Twitter and Instagram and LinkedIn, and I'm mommafoxfire@gmail.com if you want to email me. So however you want to connect with me, just look for Momma FoxFire, and if I'm on the platform, that's what I'm there as.
Awesome. Momma FoxFire, thank you so much. Let's go to Lorraine one last time. Plug, promote, talk about anything you'd like.
So again, say hello on LinkedIn and morethanafewwords.com or More Than a Few Words, wherever you listen to podcasts.
And to our guest judge tonight, Wize.
Oh man, thank you for having me. I owed you this one from last week, so I appreciate you guys giving me the chance to redeem myself. But it was a great show. You ladies put on a magnificent content, so I had a great time. You can find me at realwiseproductions.com, at stuckinmymindpodcast.com. Check me out on Real Wise TV YouTube channel, as well as Stuck in My Mind Podcast YouTube channel.
Awesome. I will have all the links from all my great guests tonight in the show notes. As you know, this show is produced by Paduty Live Events. That's my production company. You can list your next event for free. Go over to paduty.com, PODUTY.com, dates and deets for future shows and everything in between. Let's hear that theme music.
We're asking the experts, we're all on a mission to rise in the rankings and outshine the competition. Welcome to Rise and Outshine.
Yeah. Always with the yeah.